Welcome to Movie Speeching. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take good care. 28 Weeks Later is the name of the movie. Please like and subscribe to get every update. In England, a terrible zombie virus escapes from the laboratory and spreads throughout the population, killing thousands. Don and his wife Alice, who has different colored eyes, manage to hide in a remote country house with several other survivors: Jeff, Sally, Jacob, and Karen. Alice and Don have 2 children and are happy to take them on a trip to Spain because they are safe there. One day, while the survivors were having lunch, they heard someone desperately knocking on their door and begging for help. Don doesn't like the idea of opening the door to strangers, but Alice points out that it's a child's voice and convinces him to let him in. They feed the boy while he tells his story. His parents have become zombies and are chasing him with a crowd. The boy had to run here from a nearby town. Meanwhile, Karen worries about her boyfriend, who left a few days ago and hasn't returned. She opened a small part of the window to look out, but it was enough for the zombies to hear and attack her. They rushed through the windows and wood and grabbed her arms, quickly biting her. Jacob comes to her rescue and pulls her back, but Karen turns into a zombie and vomits a lot of blood before fighting against Jacob's grasp. At that moment, Don appeared behind her and hit her in the head to kill her, allowing Jacob to escape. More zombies arrive, so Don stays behind to hold them off to give the others a chance to escape. Alice and the boy walk down the hallway, but zombies start breaking in through other windows, so the duo runs upstairs, where the boy runs so fast that Alice loses sight of him. Jeff, Sally, and Jacob try to escape through the cabin's barn, but the zombies chase them too. Jeff held the door to let the remaining 2 escape. Soon the door was broken, causing Jeff to quickly die under the zombie attack. Sally cries as she witnesses her husband being eaten, and this delay allows the zombies to attack her. Jacob did not have the strength to get her out of there and had to let go of her to close the trapdoor so he could escape out the window while Sally was also eaten. Below, Don tries to take down a group of zombies, but in the struggle, he loses his gun and also has to start running. When he heard Alice scream, he ran to her and tried to persuade her to escape, but Alice refused to leave without the child. While Don stays behind, Alice finally finds the boy hiding, only for a zombie to get between them and Don. Alice asked for help, but Don was so scared that he closed the door and escaped through the window, leaving his wife, children, and zombies in the house. With dozens of zombies chasing him, Don runs through the farmland while ignoring Alice at the window. Finally, he reached the river embankment, where Jacob tried to escape on a motorboat. Don gets on the boat first to start the engine while Jacob finishes untying the rope, but when he tries to jump off, he slips and falls into the water, where he is bitten by zombies. He quickly transforms and tries to attack Don, who knocks him down and eventually starts the motorboat to kill Jacob with the propeller before sailing to safety. 15 days after the outbreak began, the UK was placed into quarantine. On day 28, the virus devastated the country. 5 days later, the zombies began to starve to death, and 11 weeks later, the United States sent NATO forces to London to begin clearing the area. 18 weeks later, Britain was finally declared infection-free, and in week 24, the rebuilding process began thanks to all Britons who escaped during the chaos being allowed to return. American soldiers still patrol and protect London like Gunner Doyle and helicopter pilot Flynn. All the soldiers were bored with nothing to fight for and used their walkie-talkies to joke with each other. On the last flight, a group of children returned from a school trip, which upset Dr. Scarlett because she thought it was too early for the young people to be exposed. While conducting checks on all the new arrivals, she meets Tammy and Andy, who happen to be Don and Alice's children. Scarlett notices Andy has different colored eyes, and he explains that he resembles his mother. Once the siblings were healthy, they caught the train and witnessed soldiers continuing to burn bodies, dump toxic waste, and clean every corner of the city. They eventually reach the fortified repatriation area known as District 1, where they finally reunite with their father Don. He takes them to the luxurious apartment he received as director of District 1, but the children are more interested in knowing what happened to their mother. Don tells them how the zombies attacked the cabin, but lies that he saw Alice killed and could do nothing to help. At night, Andy has a nightmare in which Alice becomes a terrifying zombie. When he wakes up, he falls asleep with his sister and admits that he is afraid of forgetting his mother's face. The next morning, Andy and Tammy waited for Don to leave for work and then snuck out of the apartment without telling him. They left the safe zone by carefully crossing the edge of the bridge that Doyle saw from his position on a rooftop. While warning his team, the older brother wandered into a deserted area of London, taking advantage of the lack of adults to scold them. When they find a delivery bike outside a pizzeria, Tammy goes inside to look for her keys and is horrified to see decomposing bodies everywhere. Covering her mouth and nose, Tammy carefully took the key from a body and was surprised by a swarm of cockroaches. After that, she also took a helmet and found her brother to return together by motorcycle. As they drive through town, they see all the damage caused by the zombie attack and all the additional graves built over the past few months. Finally, they reach the old house, where they take pictures of Alice and collect some of their old things. When Andy entered the attic, he found the windows covered and a lot of rotten food on the table, and there were also strange markings and siblings' names on the walls. Suddenly, he sees someone in the mirror and thinks it's Tammy, but that person comes out and is revealed to be Alice, who has bloodshot eyes but is fine. Alice rushed to hug her son, and at first Andy was happy, but soon Alice started hugging him too tightly. At that moment, the army arrived and took the children away while also arresting Alice. Sometime later, Alice was fully bathed and strapped to a stretcher. Scarlet tried to ask her a few questions, but Alice remained silent. Scarlet then takes a blood sample and notices Alice has been bitten, which makes no sense since she didn't transform. When Scarlet completes the tests, she confirms that Alice has the virus and can infect others, but she is somehow immune. This means she could be the key to creating a vaccine, but her superiors want to kill her before she spreads the virus and have Alice do tests on the corpse afterward. Meanwhile, the brothers are in quarantine, and when Don comes to see them, they scold him for lying. Feeling guilty, Don passes by the military security agency to visit Alice in the isolation room. He apologizes for running away and explains that he reacted in panic, to which Alice responds with "I love you." Touched, Don responded and kissed his wife. Her saliva immediately infects Don, who begins to feel very sick and begins screaming in pain as he becomes a zombie. Alice was terrified, but she was still tied up and could not escape the oncoming Don, who beat her, bit her neck, then crushed her eyes. Next, Don attacks a group of guards, killing them with his bite before escaping the hospital to spread the virus throughout District 1. When superiors discovered what had happened, they moved to the security bunker and implemented a lockout called Code Red. As the city's soldiers prepare to fight, Tammy and Andy watch their guard walk through the gate, then turn back transformed into a zombie. He begins banging on the glass trying to reach them until his head suddenly explodes when Scarlet shoots him. She then released the children and took them with her, seeing all the bodies in the building as they ran. Soon they find themselves in a desperate crowd trying to escape, and when the soldiers try to tell Scarlet that the civilians must go through another door, she announces that the children or character takes priority. An argument ensues, and in the chaos, Andy is separated from Scarlet and Tammy, pushed with other civilians into a secure parking garage. The soldiers then lock them all inside for protection just before the entire neighborhood lost power. While waiting, Andy hears a noise and goes to check the door and finds his zombie father covered in blood. Don went crazy and shook the door until he broke in, quickly jumping on the civilians to start biting them. Andy panics and tries to hide as the virus begins to spread throughout the garage, causing panic and making the situation worse. Now Don isn't the only one biting people. The zombies keep appearing all over the room and do even more. Andy managed to climb above the crowd and move away until he reached the ventilation system and hid there. The remaining people eventually broke the lock and took the stairs, allowing the zombies to escape and continue spreading the virus. On the streets, emergency lights were turned on as soldiers rushed to the hospital and snipers provided cover. Soon, the zombies reach the lobby, so Scarlet and Tammy start running while the soldiers open fire. Doyle and the other rooftop snipers kill zombie after zombie with admirable skill, but no matter how much they shoot, more keep appearing. It also becomes difficult to know who is infected and who is not. They were supposed to just shoot zombies, but seeing the chaos on security cameras, their superiors admitted they had lost control and ordered the soldiers to kill everyone in sight. As the soldiers increase their firepower and a massacre ensues, Andy emerges from the vent amid the chaos. Luckily, he is in an area monitored by Doyle, who refuses to kill the survivors. He shoots all the zombies around Andy, and even one zombie almost kills him, giving the kid a chance to escape with the other survivors. Some zombies reach the roof and start killing other snipers. After clearing the way, Doyle had no choice but to escape. The survivors flee to a warehouse, where Andy finds Scarlet and Tammy and tells his sister about their father. Soon, Doyle also appeared and offered to guide the survivors out of the area before the army destroyed them. The group left the building through the back door and carefully crept through the streets, always making sure to stay in the shadows so as not to be seen by the other guards. When Flynn passes by in a helicopter, Doyle keeps the group waiting and distracts Flynn over the radio before moving the group back on. Then Flynn breaks the bad news: the army will bomb all of District 1 in 4 minutes. Doyle convinces him to pick him up at Regent's Park without telling him about the survivors. The group then started running towards the park, but a sniper killed one of the guys. The group rushed to hide, but the sniper did not stop shooting and several other survivors were killed in the process. Scarlet was injured on her body, and now only she, her siblings, Doyle, and a guy named Sam remained. After hiding behind a wall, Doyle attempts to use the reflection of a piece of metal to find the sniper, who immediately shoots down on the target. This makes Doyle realize that this guy is not a real soldier, just a frightened civilian. Doyle asks Sam to run in a zigzag pattern to distract the shooter so he can kill him, but Sam refuses, so Andy goes out instead. The twisty course was enough to make an amateur miss all his shots and give Doyle enough time to take him down in one shot. Andy then hides behind another wall and is shocked to see his father standing nearby, but before he can react, the group goes looking and Don's image disappears. The group then ran as fast as they could and climbed the fence to escape District 1 just before the area was bombed. Soon, the entire area exploded, thousands of people died, and all of Scarlett's research to find a cure was destroyed. Flames burst through the hospital window and engulfed Alice, burning her to death. The group continued running into a tunnel also engulfed in flames, but managed to escape before the building also exploded. The generals watch all this from their bunker and are shocked to learn that a large number of zombies have survived the bombing and are fleeing to London, infiltrating every building in search of victims. Humanity and destruction everywhere. In the morning, Doyle's group finally reached Regent's Park, which had been abandoned since the virus outbreak. While they wait for Flynn, Scarlett tells Doyle about Alice and the possibility that the children may carry the same gene that could create a vaccine. At this point, Flynn contacts Doyle and tells him that he is on his way, but they need to be on the lookout for escaped zombies. Doyle immediately makes everyone hide in the tall grass and Flynn lands nearby, but he becomes angry when he sees the group and refuses to arrest them. When an argument broke out, Sam noticed the zombies approaching, so he ran to cling to the helicopter. An enraged Flynn begins flying with frantic movements with the intention of taking down Sam, and when the zombies finally reach the park, he lowers the helicopter and begins killing the zombies using fan blades. Lots of blood and guts cover the tall grass, but some zombies survive and start chasing Doyle, Scarlett, and the kids. Sam ends up falling, and because he's covered in blood, he probably becomes a zombie too. The group continues to run as fast as they can while Doyle occasionally turns around to shoot any zombies that get too close. Flynn tells Doyle to meet him at Wembley Stadium but insists on leaving the others behind. When turning a corner, the group was shocked to discover that the army had begun pumping gasoline into the town, so they quickly hid in a car. Just then, the zombies catch up with them and begin shaking the car, pouring blood on the windows. But soon the gas reached them and killed them all in a matter of seconds. Then a group of soldiers shows up with flamethrowers to kill any survivors, so Doyle tries to start the car. Unfortunately, this doesn't work, so Doyle goes outside to push the cart away, helping Scarlett and the children escape, but is burned alive by the soldiers in the process. Scarlett gets behind the wheel and drives over London as fast as she can, only to be seen by other military helicopters and open fire on them. After dodging a few bullets, Scarlett drove into the subway tunnel, after which they continued walking. The tunnels below are very dark, so Scarlett uses Doyle's night vision goggles to guide the children to the escalator. However, they stepped on some old corpses and slipped, causing them to fall and separate. While going through the bodies, Scarlett begins shouting the brothers' names and finds Tammy, but the noise also causes a zombie to find them. The creature took Doyle's gun and began beating Scarlett until she died. When the zombies disappear, Tammy picks up the gun and is heartbroken when she sees Scarlett's body. Meanwhile, Andy finds himself on a dark platform, where he is found by the zombie that killed Scarlett. The monster jumped on him and bit his neck, so by the time Tammy arrived, it was too late. When the zombie raised its head, she was shocked to realize it was her father, but after initial hesitation, she shot him anyway. Later, a crying Tammy looked at her brother, but Andy ran away because he was afraid of infecting him. Tammy immediately follows him, and when Andy accidentally falls, Tammy finally checks on him and notices that his eyes are bloodshot, like Alice's, meaning he is also immune. The brothers then go to the stadium and tell Flynn the bad news about Doyle. With no other choice, Flynn took the children to England to escape to mainland Europe. 28 days later, Flynn's helicopter was empty and abandoned in France with someone radioing for help. A horde of zombies then run towards the Eiffel Tower, revealing that the virus has now spread outside of England. Thank you for watching. See you on the next video.